Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. So indeed, we are talking a lot about marketing today as we are now into July. And I am absolutely thrilled to have Chris Mercer, or as we were just joking around, Mr. Mercer Man. And he is an esteemed measurement marketing expert and the co-founder of measurementmarketing.io with an unwavering dedication to helping marketers, marketing teams, and agencies understand and leverage data. Mercer has become a trusted name in the industry. He has spoken all over the world and talked about the crucial steps of identifying key metrics, implementing measurement tools, which we'll talk about some of those tools in the next few minutes. Welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate you having me, Shalom.
Absolutely. So for many business owners, especially small business owners, marketing can feel like a bit of a black box. Can you break down the concept of measurement marketing, why it's so important in today's digital landscape?
Great question. The basics are, I think a lot of companies, they understand, a lot of marketers understand they have to know their numbers. And a lot of companies, they have data analysts, data teams, and people that are into the spreadsheets all the time, understanding the numbers. The problem is there's a disconnect in most organizations between the person who's really good at all the spreadsheets and the numbers and the person who's actually the creative marketer who's trying to move things forward, changing offers, updating the copy, all that fun stuff. What the measurement marketer is and what measurement marketing is that thing in the middle where we use numbers to actually drive marketing actions. So you don't get a bunch of meaningless numbers and reports where you go, I have no idea what to do with this. But instead, you would look at your reports for just a second or two, and now you can get back to work and go take action to improve your marketing. So that's really the concept. Measurement marketing is all about using numbers to actually lead to marketing actions and not just get, informed with a bunch of trivia.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a comprehensive approach to measurement marketing. Can you walk our listeners through some key steps businesses can take to get started with data collection and analysis?
Absolutely. And fortunately, it's pretty easy. There's only three. First is we have to plan out our measurement. Then we have to build out that measurement. And then finally, we actually launch. In other words, use our measurement. Now, of course, the trick to this is it's how you plan, how you build, and how you actually launch your measurements. Let's talk about maybe a couple of things in each one of those. In the planning step, it's really just sort of three little keys to that. The first is you think about the questions that you're going to ask. There are only two types of questions. You either ask questions about the results of your user journeys or your customer journeys, like how many people purchased or how many leads we got, what the average ticket is, that sort of thing. And then we've got the how steps. How did we make that sale? In other words, how many people saw those product detail pages and how many of those actually clicked on the add to cart button and how many of those actually started the checkout process? Because when you ask results and how, with those questions around results and how, you start to really understand the user journey. So that's kind of the first step in the planning stage. The other thing that I would really focus on when people are building plans is when you are setting up your measurement plan, that is when you determine what actions you're going to take based upon the answers you're about to get to those questions. So if you say something like, well, the question is, I'm trying to figure out what our opt-in rate is on a lead or something like that. Maybe you say, okay, what kind of actions are we going to take? Well, in that case, you have to think about, okay, I don't know. What do you think the answer is going to be? And this is where you start to guess, but it's important to start that process. You have to have an idea of what actions you're going to take. So you might say something like, well, if it comes in between 30 to 35%, we're going to start scaling the traffic because it's working as expected. If it comes in less than 20%, we're going to have to rework the offer because we know that nobody's really opting in for that lead or whatever the things are putting out. If it comes in at maybe 50 or 60%, well, if we're running cold traffic, that's a pretty high conversion rate. That might mean that we're targeting too tightly and we might be able to expand out our targeting. So just in that example, you can see how different actions can happen based upon different answers. The reason we spend so much time on the marketing, on that measurement plan, I should say, the reason you spend time on the measurement plan is because then when you see a report that says, hey, your opt-in rate is 32%, you automatically know what action you're going to take. You go, oh, that's the one we say we're going to scale traffic. If it comes in and says it's 15%, you go, oh, now we're going to go work on the offer. If it comes in at 50 or 60%, you go, hey, we're going to try to work on that traffic targeting and see if we can expand that out so we can net more leads. So that's just sort of an example of how to impact the planning step.
Absolutely. I'm chatting with Mercer from measurementmarketing.io. When did you become so passionate about this topic? Tell us that story.
It's really passionate about trends and patterns, man. That's what I'm passionate about. How do you determine trends and patterns? Because when you can see a trend or a pattern, it it's kind of like the law of energy, a law of motion. When things that are in motion tend to stay in motion, it's the same thing with trends and patterns. So when you can measure them, you can start to predict what's going to happen next week. And honestly, I think that's what the beauty of measurement is. It's not just about what's working or what's not right now. It's about using that to say, well, here's what's going to happen next week when we spend $100 on Facebook. Here's how many leads we should get and how many of those they should close. And I learned all that really as a sales manager, helping salespeople with their different reports and their pipelines and trying to figure out which ones are better at picking up the phone, which ones were better at actually getting calls scheduled, which ones were better at qualifying, and then sort of helping everybody to cross-train because I could see their trends and patterns and I could help everybody else sort of improve theirs. But
yeah, absolutely. And just before we cut to a quick break here on the program, we know that many businesses are familiar with tools like Google Analytics. I'm curious how folks can leverage these tools most effectively to gain actionable insights to inform marketing strategies.
Google Analytics is an incredibly powerful platform, and it's an incredibly complex platform. And that is why it sort of kicks people in the teeth when they first start to use it. So that platform does require some training, but it can do anything. It can tell you what's happening in user journeys. It can tell you if people are scrolling down the pages. It can tell you if they're submitting forms. One other platform, though, that I think does not get attention, which absolutely should, is Microsoft Clarity. It, too, is free. It is from Microsoft. You can just go to clarity.microsoft.com to see it, create a free account. You put a script on your site, give you a little code to put on your site. Once you do that, it requires basically no setup, and it'll start showing you the pictures instead. So it's a lot easier for most creative marketers to use a platform like that. And then you can start using that to see what your funnels are doing. You can see what people are doing on their pages and the screen recordings. It even uses AI to summarize what's going on the page and offer some suggestions for improvement.
That's great. Again, we're going to have to cut to a quick break here and get down to business. Again, we're going to continue our conversation with Chris Mercer. Mercer, who's an esteemed measurement marketing expert and the co-founder of measurementmarketing.io. I've got a lot more questions when we come back after this quick break. Don't touch that dial. Hey, welcome back to Get Down to Business, continuing our conversation with co-founder of measurementmarketing.io. That's Mercer, and really excited to continue chatting with the subject matter expert himself. Mercer, your background includes experience working with businesses of all sizes. Can you share some practical measurement marketing strategies that are particularly effective for small businesses with limited resources?
Absolutely. I'm going to start with where I picked up right before we went to break, which was use Microsoft Clarity. That is the simplest, easiest platform. It requires the less maintenance, requires not a lot of setup, and you can get to action pretty quickly just within that platform because it does such a good job. The whole idea of measurement, and this is where I want to take just a step back and help people sort of rethink this. Measurement is about listening to the conversation. Like you and I are having a conversation right now. I'm going to adjust what I say based upon the questions you're asking. You're going to adjust what you're saying based upon what I'm giving you back. This is just how humans work, right? Or at least should work. But that conversation is happening right now between your users and your website. And the challenge is, well, how do we respond as marketers if we can't listen to their side of the conversation? Measurement is there to help you listen to their side of the conversation. And if you understand what your users are doing or what they're not doing, you can then change and adjust your website so that you're more likely to get the behaviors that you want. So small business owners can use a platform like Microsoft Clarity. They could also use Google Analytics 4. That was just a little more complicated, at least a little more setup. But Microsoft Clarity or Google Analytics 4, either one of those will help you to listen in on your user side of the conversation so you know if you're getting the behaviors that you're supposed to get. And if you are, great, scale traffic. If you're not, that's where you can go back and adjust your offers or fix maybe the website design and things along those lines.
Yeah, and we know that the marketing landscape is constantly evolving. How can businesses stay up to date on the latest trends and innovations in measurement marketing?
I'll give you an easy one for us. It's a shameless plug, but just go to our YouTube channel, measurementmarketing.io/YouTube. We'll take you to the channel there so you can subscribe. But what we do, the reason I say that is because this stuff does change all the time. Every single month, we call it Workshop Wednesday. And on the first Workshop Wednesday of the month, so every first Wednesday of every month, we do a recap of all the different changes and all the different updates. So you can stay up to date on what Clarity has changed, what Google Analytics has done, what Tag Manager has done, and BigQuery and Looker Studio, and all these other tools that are out there for small business owners.
Oh, that's good stuff. Chris, your expertise in measurement marketing, it's truly valuable. And I really appreciate you sharing these insights with our listeners. Again, been chatting with Mercer from measurementmarketing.io. Definitely a wealth of knowledge and information. And I could have a much longer conversation with you. But for anybody who wants to learn more about your work one more time, where can they find you online?
Well, as you mentioned, measurementmarketing.io is our main site. We do have a free membership level that we have where it sort of trains people on that plan, build, and launch framework that we spoke briefly about in the first section. And if you're interested in that, you just go to measurementmarketing.io/get down.
That's awesome. Really appreciate you joining us on the program. Can't wait to have you back on because this is a topic that indeed is constantly evolving, and there are so many great tools out there, and you share so many great insights and information. We'll link in our show notes as well. So that's a wrap for us this week on Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. As always, you get on my website, syklein.com, syklein.com. Follow me on social media and be sure to get on your favorite podcast app so you can subscribe, rate, review, and share. And I encourage you, please make sure you rate, review, but also subscribe, which makes it really easier so you don't miss a single episode. And be sure to check out our sponsors, Laura Katchabone-Gerace, for all things real estate in the Chicagoland area. She's with Coldwell Banker Stratford Place. Laura Katchabone-Gerace, you can reach her 708-212-4905, 708-212-4905. And also, of course, check out our friend Tom Mirabali for all things health insurance. His website is healthplanchicago.com. We talked about a lot this week on Get Down to Business. And I want to remind you again, as we talk about measurement marketing, as we talk about some of these analytics, things are constantly evolving. We share all sorts of great tips and advice on our show page on my website, syklein.com. And one of the areas that I focused on in the middle of the show was about finding those moments to recharge, to rejuvenate yourself, but also to separate a little bit. Remember, pace yourself. We're only in July, my friends. We got a long time until the holidays to make sure you find those moments to take care of yourself so you can reinvest that into your business as well. Hey, that's all for this week. To success, let's get down to business. We'll see you next week.